Okay, let's unpack this. For decades, the relationship between Iran and Israel, it's been this really complex web, right? Proxy conflicts, simmering tensions.
Just under the surface, mostly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what happens when that tension just breaks through, becomes, direct, overt confrontation?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. You've given us this stack of sources, articles, research, notes.
Right.
And our job really is to distill that down, cut through the noise, give you the most important insights.
Absolutely. Our mission here is pretty clear. We want to help you really grasp these dramatic events that have been unfolding, understand the strategies at play, sort of confront a profound human cost, which is easy to forget sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Recognize the global ripple effects, which are already happening, and place it all in its historical context, because none of this happens in a vacuum.
Right. So by the end of this,
Yeah.
you should have a pretty comprehensive handle on how this, unprecedented moment is reshaping things.
Exactly. Regionally and beyond.
So let's start right at the flashpoint. The immediate spark for this direct escalation.
Yeah.
June 13th, 2025. Israel launches Operation Rising Lion.
Mhm.
This involved some very precise airstrikes, targeting key Iranian nuclear centers, military command structures.
Fake targets.
Yeah, big targets. And the impact was significant. Over 100 Iranian scientists, military officers killed, hundreds more wounded.
And Iran's response, well, it was swift and decisive. They launched Operation True Promise,
Okay.
basically a massive barrage, rockets, drones, aimed directly at Israeli cities. We're talking Tel Aviv, Haifa, Beersheba. And those attacks, tragically, they resulted in at least 25, maybe 35 or more Israelis injured.
And right now, as we're talking, this conflict is what, in its second week?
That's right, ongoing.
It's intense. But one thing, these advanced missile defense systems, on both sides, they seem to be proving successful quite often anyway.
They are intercepting a lot of incoming threats,
Mhm.
which, mitigates what could be an even more devastating impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even with those defenses working, it's crucial to understand what each side is really trying to achieve here. This is where it gets really interesting. What are the strategic motivations? What's the end game?
Well, for Israel, their strategy seems pretty unambiguous.
Yeah.
It's about completely neutralizing Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Right, taking that threat off the table.
Exactly, preventing any future threat from that direction. And their targets show this, right? They're focusing on critical nuclear facilities. Natanz, Fordo,
The known sites?
the known sites, plus IRGC command centers, that's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, rocket production sites, air defenses. Basically, the infrastructure enabling Iran's military power, especially the nuclear aspect.
Okay, so that's Israel's objective. What about Iran? What's their strategy with Operation True Promise, beyond just hitting back?
Well, True Promise is certainly that direct response, yeah. Primarily these rocket and drone attacks on Israel, but it's also multi-pronged. They're leveraging indirect pressure, too, using established proxies like the Houthis down in Yemen, Shia militias elsewhere in the region.
Okay, so the familiar playbook in part.
In part. But what's truly fascinating here, and this is a significant strategic shift, is the direct engagement.
Wow.
Historically, Iran operated under what was called the Karachi-Iran war policy, which basically prioritized deniability, asymmetric warfare.
Keep their hands clean, sort of.
Right. Avoid that direct state-on-state fight to prevent, massive retaliation, rely on the proxies.
Makes sense.
But by abandoning that now and opting for these direct drone and rocket tactics,
Yeah.
Iran is signaling something new, a willingness to take on much greater risk.
That changes things.
It fundamentally alters the deterrence calculations in the whole region. Could be a new era, really, of overt conflict between them.
And beyond this strategic chess match, there's the human cost, which, like you said, can get lost.
You can.
Our sources point to some grim figures.
Yeah.
Around 600, maybe more, Iranians killed, 1,300 injured. On the Israeli side, those injuries, 25 to 35 plus. And the humanitarian side, already seeing a refugee crisis emerging.
Yeah.
Around 100,000 people displaced just from Tehran.
Yeah, it's so
A reminder of the real people caught in the middle.
Absolutely. And that impact, it goes beyond casualties. It hits critical infrastructure.
Right.
We've seen reports, attacks on courts, hospitals, universities. Specifically, Soroka Hospital in Beersheba took a direct hit June 19th.
Wow.
A hospital.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the energy markets, global markets. Huge implications.
How so?
Well, Iran has explicitly threatened the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay, the shipping lane. Crucial.
One of the world's most critical shipping lanes, especially for oil. That threat alone creates major uncertainty. Oil prices could really impact economies everywhere.
So it's definitely not just a regional fight anymore.
No, the potential for global energy disruption is very real.
Which brings us to how the rest of the world is reacting. And it sounds like a complex mix of diplomacy and, well, potential intervention. The U.S. first.
Sources indicate the Trump administration might lean pretty heavily towards Israel.
That's the indication.
There's even been discussions about potential U.S. involvement, maybe even troops in key locations, and some of these discussions happening, apparently, even to places like Pennsylvania.
Interesting. And over in Europe, they're talking, too, in Geneva, discussions about the Tehran situation.
Okay.
Iran has apparently indicated, some willingness for negotiations, but only if the attacks stop. A clear precondition.
A big if, right?
A very big if, and this raises that key question. How do these international reactions shape things or complicate them further?
Right.
Plus, you've got threats from Shia militias across the region. They're saying they'll prevent any significant U.S. presence, which hints at, well, a much wider regional blow-up.
Drawing others in.
Exactly. Turning an already dangerous situation into something far more volatile.
So, stepping back.
Yeah.
What does this all mean in the larger scheme? How did we even get here? To this point of direct confrontation after all those decades of, well, shadowboxing.
It's the crucial question, isn't it? For decades, like you said, since '79, really. Iran-Israel conflict was fought through proxies, almost exclusively.
Kept it at arm's length.
Allowed for deniability, prevented that overt state-on-state war. But that dynamic, it profoundly shifted. Now it is direct confrontation.
Man, a cow.
The 2023 Hamas attack was a major catalyst, yes. Led to formal retaliation, things accelerated. Then, through 2024, 2025, extensive Iranian rocket and drone attacks, followed by aggressive Israeli airstrikes, counter-responses.
Back and forth, escalating.
A constant back and forth, spiraling into what we're seeing now, this ongoing serial conflict where direct engagement is terrifyingly the new norm.
Wow. What a deep dive.
Yeah.
Hopefully this has given you a much clearer understanding of this incredibly complex, fast-moving situation.
I hope so.
We've tried to unpack that shift to direct engagement, the strategies, the really profound human and infrastructure costs, those global implications, all rooted in a deep, complicated history. The goal, as always, is helping you quickly grasp these complex situations with some real insight.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Given this unprecedented direct confrontation after decades of proxy wars, what new precedents are actually being set right now for conflict in the Middle East? And maybe more crucially, how might these events irrevocably reshape regional alliances, reshape global energy security for years, maybe decades to come, long after the immediate fighting stops?